If your kid's whole vocabulary has shrunk to fine, good, and a shrug, this one's for you. This week on Moms in the Middle, I'm sitting down with Nicole Humlicek, a 20-plus year educator and upper school principal, on how we actually connect with our teens and tweens. We get into why coming in hot backfires, the one thing in every conversation we can control, and a little trick called rose, thorn, spaghetti. Let's get into it. Hey there, and welcome to Houston Moms in the Middle, the podcast from the team at Houston Moms, all about those in-between years. We're talking tweens, teens, even the young adults who still need us more than they'll admit. I'm Brandi. Like you, I am a Houston mom navigating a lot of these same challenges in real time, right alongside my own kids. Every week, we sit down with experts and each other to get into the stuff that actually keeps us up at night. And we are always open for suggestions. So if there's a topic you want us to cover, I want to hear it. Email me, Brandi with an I. So that's Brandi at houstonmom.com. All right, let's get to today's guest. Nicole, I am so excited to dive into this with you because this topic of communication, I think, is so important. I have two biological daughters, two bonus daughters. All of them recently became young adults. And in the past 10 years, I feel like we were literally sometimes speaking entirely different languages. Communication is so important. So I guess my first question for you is, if we're talking to a parent of a tween, of a teen, how do you start those basic fundamental conversations and feel like you're both getting something out of it?
Bernie, thank you for inviting me. I think this is such a perfect topic because know that you as a mom are not alone. We are going through this as moms. And if there was one answer that could apply to every situation, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So it's very nuanced and very situational based. But in my experience as an educator, and please know that teens, tweens, middle schoolers are my favorite people on this earth. I love their problems and their complications. I just love this age. But with that does come some communication barriers. And I think one thing we need to recognize as moms is that one thing we can control in our communication with our teens and tweens is ourselves. We may not be able to control what comes out of our teen or tween's mouth or a decision that they've made. But what we can control is our reaction to it and how we communicate with our teen about it after the fact. So managing our own emotions is going to be a really key player in communicating with teens and tweens in an effective way that will get the impact that we want.
A lot of times when we're having these conversations or trying to have conversations with kids this age, they're just not giving a lot back to you. How do you start kind of building that rapport, assuming you're not coming from a place of like conflict? It's more just, how was your day? Fine. Anything happen? No. How do you get those conversations going?
I can completely relate to that because husbands do that too,
They do,
right?
yeah.
So there's one technique that I have used for years and years as a way to frame communication so that my teens and tweens know that I'm going to ask them about this. And it's rose, thorn, and spaghetti. And rose symbolizes something that went great about their day, that they might roll their eyes at you when you present the term rose. So get them to name it something that they love. If they're into Pokemon and their favorite Pokemon character is what they want to name that rose of their day, but it's their favorite part or the most epic part of their day. And they know that you're going to ask that. What was your thorn today? Or what was your rose today? After rose comes thorn. So, thorn, what was the hard part of your day? Something that was sticky, something that didn't sit well with you, something that was hard. And get them to name that too. Sometimes you can get some really humorous names, and that humor can diffuse some tension. And then spaghetti is just that random. What is that random thing that you want to tell me that happened today? And that helps with predictability. Your teen and tween are going to know mom and dad are going to ask me these questions. They're going to know the frame and the format. And then you, as moms, are going to model that too. So my rose is, my thorn is, my spaghetti is. And you'd be amazed at the organic conversations that start to emerge versus that direct interrogation. How's your day? Who'd you talk to? How'd you do on your math test? That kind of rapid fire questioning does turn me off as an adult and definitely can turn our teens and tweens off too. So try that strategy, framing it around a great part, a bad part, and then a random part.
I love that. And I feel like it's important to remind folks that the, we're not wearing kids' gloves with them. I mean, we are, but it's because they're going through like a lot of changes. There's a reason they went from this, super bubbly, outgoing early elementary school student into kind of a more quiet and reserved tween or teen.
Yeah, there's so much happening in their brains and their bodies. And that's why I love this age, but it is a very vulnerable age. We can think back to our own middle school years. There are very few of us as moms that would look back onto our middle school years with fondness. I don't. I don't know about you, Brandy.
Mm-mm, no.
Uh, but it is because there's so much changing in their bodies. So one of the first things is that their brains are not fully developed. Their prefrontal cortex is their brain is literally under construction. So think about us as Houston moms navigating traffic on, let's say, I-10 when I-10's under construction, and we are dealing with lane closures and unexpected delays, how frustrating that can feel. And when their brain is going through these changes and they're under constant construction or development, it can come with frustration. So it's a great analogy to even name that analogy with your own teen or tween and say your brain's under construction. You know how mom feels when she's in construction on Highway 59? That frustration is how you might be feeling. Tell me more about that. And they're also, in addition to their brain, experiencing hormonal effects. Their cortisol levels are fluctuating, their testosterone and estrogen are fluctuating constantly. So even creating hour to hour emotional mood swings. And many of us can relate to that. I just talked to you an hour ago, we were cool. And then the next hour, what changed? And it may have just been a hormonal upswing or a downswing. So
That's
they're facing, go ahead.
I was going to say that's especially fun in a house where you've got teenagers and maybe a perimenopausal mom.
And I can
Everybody's swinging.
so relate to that as a mom. Like I have, I'm breaking out into a hot flash while you are also going into an emotional, hormonal, perhaps, uh, breakdown. So again, what is in our realm of control? There are a lot, sometimes just by naming what's happening to our bodies, ourselves included too, moms, when we know what's happening in our bodies, we can better understand how to manage it.
Amen to that. These little headbutts, I'll say, when we get frustrated, maybe it's because of, a challenge in communication, maybe it's something they've done. There's some kind of conflict. How do you coach parents on how to address that? Because I feel like a lot of times when you just come in hot, they respond with just as much fire, and all you end up with is scorched earth.
Yeah, and you know that from experience, Brandy,
Yep.
right? Like it has happened and we have all been there when we, I think as moms are so in this mentality of fixing it and fixing it fast. We don't like to see our children in pain or disappointed or embarrassed or in conflict. We don't want to feel that with our teen or tween. And so we go into fix it mode or lecture mode because we think that's going to work. And you're exactly right, Brandy. It very rarely works because they are tuning out all of our lecturing that's really probably for self. we are probably lecturing them to make ourselves feel better. And I think one concrete strategy I can give to moms is conversate to listen, to seek to
Mm.
understand instead of to be understood. What is really going on in our teen and tween is often very rarely surface level. So when they were little, perhaps the conflict came from you had told them not to cross the street without looking both ways and holding mommy's hand. And they darted out into the street. That was something visible that you could see. It was an easy correction, and you were able to move on. Teens and tweens have much more abstract, not in the moment, not very visible sometimes challenges that they even have a hard time articulating themselves. And it's not so obvious to us as moms. And so we have to be very careful about that, listening to understand and the many, many layers that are likely involved. What we see at the top is the problem, but what caused that problem? And then what caused that problem? And really getting to the root of why your teen or tween is acting the way they are or why you are having this conflict.
That's definitely one mistake, coming in hot and not listening to understand. Are there any other mistakes you see parents making? Obviously not intentional. Nobody wants to go like mess up that communication relationship with your kids, but any other mistakes that you see parents doing a lot?
I mean, we're not making mistakes as parents because we're just trying to get through this great life that has no handbook. But I do see families and my own self as a mom. Um, I think we can model more an apology where we
Mm.
come back to our teen and tween and say, "Hey, I was hot yesterday and I said things that I wish I didn't say. I don't really feel that way. I was very hot in the moment. And I want to apologize to you. And I want you to know that mommy loves you and cares about you. And it's coming from a very pure place. But the way I handled that yesterday was not cool. And I'm going to try to do better." And often when you come with that apology, they will come back with you with an apology of their own. It may not be, assume positive intent. I think that's another good tip. Assume positive intent when they're trying to communicate back with you. But often initiating that apology when you didn't get it right can, when cooler heads prevail, can lead to some meaningful dialogue. And that has to be reciprocal, right? Back and forth where I'm listening and you're listening to me, and it feels more mutual respect than I am talking and lecturing to you and you're just going to sit and listen, because your kids are going to go into fight, freeze, or fright, right? And then their brain's not absorbing what you've even said.
Yeah. Talking offline, one of the things you really hammered home is that consistency for all of this is key. Can you just stress that again for anyone listening? Because I know I need that reminder sometimes.
Well, let's say, and this has happened to me as a mom, I I am exhausted and our Wi-Fi goes out at 8 o'clock every night. That's a boundary that we put in our household where our Wi-Fi is programmed without us having to do anything. It shuts down and our phones go into airplane mode and our devices at 8 o'clock p.m. It works for our family. This is just setting up an example. Consistency. Let's say I'm super exhausted and my son is having trouble going to sleep and he's asked me, "Mom, just one night, can I be on my device?" And I am so tired that I say yes because I want to go to bed and I know that he just needs the iPad and it will settle him down, then he'll go to bed. Well, changing the boundary even for one night, what do you think happened the next night? "Mom, you let
Again,
me
yeah.
yesterday. Why can't I today? What about yesterday made today different?" Well, mom was tired yesterday, and now I'm back with my head on tonight, and we're going back to the rule. And that is very hard when they're developing abstract thinking. We want to impose our adult logic sometimes on their sense of logic, which isn't always black or white, or sometimes it's so black and white that they get confused. And
Mm.
so that consistency, even something as small as Wi-Fi's going out every night at 8, we're not changing it. This is our family policy.
See, I needed that. I needed to hear that. I appreciate you, Nicole. If folks have some questions about anything we talked about, what's a good way they can connect with you?
Go to our website, thehonorrollschool.com. We've got a great page of family resources. We have podcasts that our school produces, and we've got a great reading list for families where you can read more about these great tips for our teens and tweens.
Amazing. Nicole, I know we're going to have you back in the next few weeks because there's a lot more I want to dig into with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brandi.
And that is where we'll leave it today. If something we talked about resonated with you, share this episode with a mom friend who needs it too. New episodes of Houston Moms in the Middle drop every Wednesday, so hit follow. Come hang out with us again. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week, right here in the middle.